Hey everybody, welcome to part 3, day 1 of the CCT engineering class. Today we're going to talk about connecting to controllers. So there's multiple ways you can connect to the Johnson Field controllers in the field. Let's see, there are 4 ways you can download an F4 controller. Okay, the first way, you can use the map gateway or the CWCVT tool. Let me bring up my screen here and show you what those look like. This is a map gateway. This is a very expensive device. If you have one, great. If you don't, I wouldn't bother buying one. They're discontinued now. They've been replaced by this little guy. This is the CWCVT tool. It's much smaller. Here's the palm of my hand. It fits in the palm of my hand, and it gives you a nice little screen. So you can see a little bit of information going on, right? And these devices plug into the RJ11 ports on these front of the uh, controllers, or they plug into the bottom of the stats. Every Johnson stat at the bottom has a little RJ11 port that those will plug into and get powered off the SA bus. I should say every network stat that Johnson has that in there. So you can plug those in, either the FC bus or the SA bus. Now, if the controller is an N2 device, you have to plug it into the SA bus, as the FC bus has been turned into and is no longer BACnet. And these are BACnet gateways. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is using a JCI as a BACnet router. Right here, I have an Edge 10 controller, which is basically an JCI Lite, that I will show you how to set this guy up and prove to you that you can use this JCI as a BACnet router and not have to use any one of these in the field. So if you have access to the JCI, either on-site or remotely, you will be able to download these controllers. The next one is using a MSTP to IP BACnet router. I actually have the same version of this. I have the contemporary controls right here. I also made a video, which you should go watch. I took a contemporary controls router and I meshed it with a little travel Wi-Fi router, and I made the whole system portable. So wireless, just like the Map Gateway and CWCV tool, but this can be used on other vendors, not only Johnson Controls, so anything BACnet. And the last way you can do it is directly through an Ethernet connection if you are dealing with an IP controller, which I do have an IP controller here. So this guy right here is an IP controller. I'll be showing you how to hook that up directly to your computer and downloading that as well. Now, talk about the CWCVT tool. It's been out for, I would say, what, 3 years now? It's a nice little tool. It's small, compact. It's used as a wireless BACnet router. It connects in seconds instead of minutes like the old Map Gateway, and I find it to be very nice. It's cheaper than the map tool. It connects faster to your computer than the map tool. And then you have the map tool. This is a very expensive device, but it does have a GUI built in. I'll be showing you that here in a second, where you can actually see the points and command the points via the GUI instead of going in CCT every time. Now, a pro tip for you is to get one of these adapters to use with the Map Gateway or CWCVT tool. What this allows is it adds a second Wi-Fi adapter to your computer via this little dongle that you use to connect to these controllers. That allows your computer to be still on the internet. So if you need to look something up, check emails, get support, whatever, that allows you to reach out on your computer via Ethernet, and it allows you to stay connected to these devices here that stay connected to the controllers. It's a big help. If you do buy one of these, buy a slower speed one. Both the map gateway and the CWCVT tool is both wireless in speed. So if you get a wireless in adapter, you'll be matching those speeds. It's very helpful, especially if you've noticed that your computer drops the CWCVT tool or the map gateway just randomly throughout the day. If it just keeps dropping, you have to keep connecting. Get you one of these little adapters and you won't have that problem anymore. Again, you can use this Jace as a backnet router. You have to set up the IP port you're hooking into as a backnet port and enable it. You also have to enable backnet routing. You must know your MSTP port number. You have to have routing enabled, like I said before. So let's look live at all this. I got a hodgepodge of everything right here. I am going to bring up my CCT. This one's running 10.6, so I can actually run both of these on 10.6. The PCV 1930 is considered an advanced VAV controller, even though it's the older generation. It's still advanced, still has the time clock built in, everything that the CVE does, but it still has the spade connectors instead of terminal blocks. That's really the only difference between this and the newer one. And the CVM 3050 is the latest and greatest out right now. So it uses 10.6, 10.7 as well. So I'll be using these to download into here. Right now, I am connected to my map gateway. Right here, I'm connected to my map. Okay, so I'm going to use my map gateway to download this CVM 3050. So if I go over here to define hardware, if I change this to a CVM 3050, the points are assigned. I'm going to do this VAV CVM. Okay, device address 4, which it is, and I'm going to go 1004. Next, close. And since I am connected to my map, I won't do the display settings. I'll just leave the display as it is. I'll show you what it looks like without the display. So now we can go to transfer to device, save changes. No, that just saves it to your computer. I'm going to do the default map, and I am connected via the Wi-Fi. Probably end up downgrading this device. Let's see. Unless this is a much older one. So it's going from 11 to 10, which is fine. So we just have to downgrade the main on there. The boot's fine. So I will commission after. No, I'm not going to commission. We know what it looks like. Next, and we're going to download this controller via the map gateway. All right, I can tell you that took excruciating amount of time to download, close to about 10 minutes, but for your viewing pleasure, I sped this up so it's only a few seconds. So we're still connected via the map gateway. I'm gonna minimize this screen and bring this over so you can see the GUI of the map gateway. If you're connected to the map and go to 192.168.142.1 or mapgateway.com, you'll get this login screen. And if you log in with your credentials, you'll get a screen like this. This will populate with everything that's on the trunk of the controller that you're plugged into if you're going through the FC bus or even the SA bus. So I only have one controller on this trunk since this other one is an IP controller. But I could click on this and it downloads the little configuration of the controller to the map gateway. Now I can click the play button. Now here's where if we did displays, here's how where everything would show up in the display. This would be the idle page of the display. But since we did not set up any display settings in this controller, there is nothing on this page. But we can still come to inputs and it will show up all the inputs that's available. We can go to outputs and it'll show up the outputs that are available and the parameters. We can override things on here. As we see, the damper is starting to open right here. Bring the screen up. That is going to be, what is it? This controller right here. So you see that damper is moving towards the map gateway. That would be opening. And if I go and command this, operator override to 0, save, it will go away from the map gateway right here. So I'm able to command stuff via this GUI. I'm able to set some parameters up via this GUI. I'm able to release the operator override and everything else in this GUI. So it is a nice tool, but the map gateway is so expensive that it's not worth it. And like I said, it's slowly starting to become discontinued and hard to get. So that is the map gateway. Now let's talk about the CWCVT tool. I have some tips and tricks on the map gateway on another video if you want to go see that. But if you still have it, it's still a valid way of hooking up to controllers. So next, I'd like to talk about the CWCVT tool. This connects in seconds instead of 2 minutes with the map gateway. I'm connected. Now I need to go to my computer, Wi-Fi settings, and connect to the CWCVT tool. And I guarantee you I'm already connected. It's just checking. This is my computer being real slow here. I could show you that I'm connected because if I come over here and hit commission, save changes no, I'm not going to have to change anything here because it has the same settings as the map gateway tool. They kept the 192.168.142.1 settings and they kept everything else the same. I just have to choose my Wi-Fi network and hit next, and it will connect to this controller here. Boom. I don't have anything hooked up to this, but as you see, I am connected. It would have gave me an error if I wasn't, and I would be able to operator override that to 0 through CCT and everything else. This does not really have a GUI setting. It does have a web page that you can change some configurations on if you had to change the MAC address or something like that to this. But other than that, it operates exactly like the map gateway. Next, I will do direct Ethernet. So if I'm talking to the IP controller, I can take my Ethernet and plug it into the front of that, and I could set my Ethernet up to the same subnet. This one's going to be 192.168.92, and I'm going to pick a lower number like 59. Okay, so now I can go and commission. This one I need to do an application in controller because I'm actually connected to this PCV instead of not the CVM. And I'm going to choose direct Ethernet. Now with my computer on the same subnet, I choose the interface that I'm plugged in with it. It's going to go and find all the devices on that subnet, all the JCI controllers on that subnet. As you see, this controller's address is 192.168.92.134, and it is the PCV 1930. Finish. As you see, this is much faster. A direct Ether connection is a lot faster. Now I'm talking to the PCV controller via direct Ethernet. Finally, we can go directly through the JCI controller. So let me plug back into the JCI controller. I need to settings, change those back to the subnet that the JCI controller is on, which is 110. I'll leave that at 59, that's fine. And I will show you the settings that you need to change on the JCI itself. So inside the station of the JCI, again, this is edge 10. It's like a JCI Lite, but it acts the same thing. The address of this one is 192.168.110.90. And inside of the station, drivers, BACnet, the local device is set up correctly. And the COM, I have the network. I have an MSTP port, port number 2, that's talking 38.4 to my CVM. I also have an IP port talking to my PCV 1930 on port number 3. And I also have port 1 set up as IP port, BACnet IP port enabled. So all my ports are covered here, and I do have routing enabled right here. Routing enabled. Maintain routing enabled does not have to be on, but routing enabled does have to be on. So if you have all those, you'll be able to connect through it. So now I am connected to my Edge 10 controller. I'm going to come to CCT and hit commission. I'm going to do application and controller again because I'm going to go back to my CVM controller. I'm going to have to come back up here to the map BACnet router settings. I'm going to have to put in 192.168. The address of my JCI is 110.90. And the network number I want to talk to is network number 2. I'm connected through this adapter. Now hit next. It's going to go find all the controllers on that network. This instance, I only have one controller on that network. That's CVM 3050. Next and finish, it's going to download that application or upload that application, and it's going to give me an error. So let's go see what the error is about. Make sure I have my settings correctly. I do. Make sure that my controller here can see it. Oh, I have a lot of different ones here. Two. I can see it here, so that is good. I think I know what my problem is. My problem is that I am running a station on my computer. So if I go to services, I can go to Niagara and I can stop the service. There we go. I stopped the service. Now when I go to commission 192.168.110.90, network number 2, I should be able to see this controller. Finally just restarted CCT, and now it seems to be working properly. And now I'm talking via the JACE as a backnet router to my MSTP controller. I can even do this to the IP controller as long as I have the network that it's on. I'll prove it to you by hitting configure, yes, and going to commission, application in controller, and that should be on network number 3. It'll reach out and find it. It did. It's the 1930. And I hit continue. There it is. So it doesn't matter if it's an IP controller or MSTP controller, I can do it as long as backnet routing is enabled and both ports that I'm going through are backnet ports. Finally, we'll do the contemporary controls router. And I'll just need to wire that guy in. I'll wire this one in. This is going to be power, which will just take from here. Okay. And then we have our backnet. And change our backnet here. Our the backnet on the contemporary controls router. Right. So now I am connected to my contemporary controls router. I need to plug in the Ethernet of the contemporary controls router to my computer. This is the Ethernet cable for it. I'm going to come over here and plug this guy in. we go. Now I'm connected to this contemporary controls BACnet router, which is plugged into my CVM controller. Now I just need to come over here to my settings of my computer and change the Ethernet gateway to be the 92 again for the BACnet router settings. Okay. Oops. Now to commission, I'll do application and controller. I'm going to change this to 92 and this to 68. And then I believe my network number is 2001. Using the TP link. Next. So as long as I have all the settings correct for my BACnet router, everything that's on that trunk will show up. There it is, the CVM 3050 controller. Next, commission. As you see, the direct Ethernet, the commissioning goes much faster. Everything else is a little bit slower. I would say the direct Ethernet is the fastest. The JACE is the BACnet gateway, is a little bit faster or a little bit slower, but still faster than the wireless options. And then honestly, I think this contemporary controls is pretty fast itself. So now I'm talking via the contemporary controls. As a bonus feature here, I will show you the other contemporary controls router that I built that's basically wireless. So all I have to do here is trade out these plugs, and now the only thing I have wired is the MSTP cable going to the controller, and over here I'm going to connect to my wireless router. This is extremely helpful when you're doing a lot of work in the ceilings that don't have a lot of room to run wires down or don't want to run wires down from the ceiling all the way down to the floor where your computer is. Well, I keep the same settings here, but I'm going to choose Wi-Fi 6 because that's the way I'm talking to the router. Try it one more time, Wi-Fi. There we go. So now we're talking via wireless BACnet router to the controller. So those are the multiple ways you can connect to JCI controllers. Follow the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification if you want to go to the next training. The next one will be part 4. Thanks for watching.